Hello, I'm here today with Rita and Jeff, and they're in Victoria. And how did you meet?
Several years previous, we met when I first moved to Victoria. Jeff was a supplier of mine, and we
Because
met
you're a
each other.
designer.
I'm a designer, yeah, and Jeff is in the glass industry. And when we met at a social gathering, after knowing him just business wise, we were at this social gathering, and we just had this. Well, we had this attraction, but it was not. It was not. It was not. It wasn't physical. It was more like we understood each other, and so we talked a lot that night, and then his girlfriend came back in and and ruined it all. No, and then I lost contact with him, and he was with his girlfriend for another 5 years, and then I met him online, and he recognized me, but I didn't recognize him. It had been a long time. So,
And was he still your glass supplier?
yeah, no, I'd gone elsewhere, hadn't I? Yeah.
Well, I didn't actually. I didn't get back to her for a couple of quotes because I was in Italy at the time, and I was a bit slow on the response. So
he was ending his relationship, so he was distracted.
As you do in Italy, you go to Italy to end a relationship, don't you?
Yes.
Oh, no, actually, that's not what you do, but that's what happened.
Yeah. And what is your version of how you first met?
Yeah, that's basically it. Like,
did you feel that first kind of like when you first met and it was just a social gathering? I mean, did you feel something then too?
For me, I'm a pretty strong in the loyalty department, so I didn't really have any of that radar on as far as a romantic part of it.
No.
And we have a really scarily parallel background as well, which was really intriguing because to try and explain how I grew up and for her to try and explain how she grew up to people who haven't lived that way, like both of us, is difficult to put a period on that sentence. But both of us were overseas a lot because our parents were. My dad was in the oil exploration business. Her father also was. And so we moved around a ton. We were in a lot of different countries. It sounded super glamorous in some ways, and in some ways it was. But in other ways, you're in, cinder block houses in the middle of the Arabian desert, with no air conditioning as well. So it's not as glamorous as all that. But when we began speaking about, well, I went to boarding school. Well, yeah, I went to boarding school. Well, my dad worked in the Sahara. Well, my dad worked in the Sahara. Well, what part? Well, yeah, my dad worked in that part. Well, when? Oh, yeah, my dad worked there then too. And well, she was in Tunisia. I was in Libya, but everything was very similar. And it's quite, when you're in your formative years, that type of thing really, really influences who you become.
Right, for sure. You get a really good broad perspective on life when you're traveling around like that.
You do, but also you don't grow any roots.
That's true.
Ever. And so through your adolescent years and really into your 20s, there are no roots that grow anywhere. So when it comes time to settle down with someone and somewhere, it's bloody difficult.
Well, it's certainly for myself, there was always this fear that a partner would take away from my freedom to travel and to live wherever I wanted in the world, because I have I still have a hard time putting down roots. And Jeff, understanding that part of me, was very patient with me from the very beginning, because as soon as we met, I was like, well, I'm moving to Spain in 8 months, don't you know? Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And just allowed me that grace. I had been online dating for my entire time here in Victoria, 8 years. And I was tired of the relationship apps there where I had to go deep with everybody. It was just easier to just swipe by people until I met the right one.
And what was your first date?
Oh my God. So we met on Tinder and had planned to get together, but it was sort of August, I guess.
Well, he was all over the place. I'm like, and on Tinder, you can see where the person is. And he's like, he's gone away. And I'm like, wait, where have you gone? And he was traveling and he was here and there. And so
we were having trouble getting connected. So we basically agreed that we would meet, I don't know, at X date, early September type of thing, I think. And
it was like a week away. It was like, God, I can't wait that long.
No, but it was a few weeks before we were conversing by email. So we were off the app and, had each other's, or texting, I guess. So we had each other's cell phones and we're texting, then we'd phone and talk and whatnot. And we had sort of had a plan. Okay, we'll wait a couple of weeks before we meet because everybody's busy and whatnot. But
not me.
No.
You could have met that night.
But so we decided, you know what, we had a little window of opportunity one night where we could actually get together. And I had a Thai massage booked that day down in Chinatown here in Victoria, in this little rickety, because people don't know what Chinatown here in Victoria is like, but it's actually real Chinatown.
It's the oldest one in Canada.
Yeah. And I think one of the oldest in North America.
Yeah.
So, and one of the largest. So it was up this old 1800s brick building, and this Thai guy, it was a couple 100-pounder. Wasn't like one of these happy ending type of Thai massage things. I've had some injuries through car accidents and sports and whatnot. So I needed someone who was big and strong, who could really get in there and work on me. So this Thai dude, whose name, funnily enough, is Love, was giving me a massage. And I said, well, why don't we meet after? And she said, okay, great. So how about I just meet you at the massage place? So I said, perfect. So, you're in getting worked on for an hour and beaten up actually pretty good, because it wasn't just the relaxing, Thai music and all this kind of stuff. It was
nurturing massage. It
wasn't a nurturing massage. It was like get in there and get the knots out type of massage. Anyhow, so this place had paper thin walls and no walls to the ceiling. So everybody could hear whatever was going on. And I heard Rita walk in the door and say, they thought she was there for a massage. She said, no, I'm just waiting for Jeff. So I was getting dressed. So I opened the door and walked out, and there was this girl standing there. And I just about fell down. Honestly, I was bowled over, like, it was a magical moment. I'll never, ever forget it as long as I live.
And what made it so magical?
She did. I mean, it was just.
You just knew immediately, like it was just time stopped. It was like.
I knew immediately. Time stopped. Honestly, the chemistry was so thick in the air, for me anyways. I knew immediately that I was in love with that girl.
Awesome. Okay, that's.
She didn't know quite so quickly.
What was that first meeting like for you? And he grabbed your hand. He held your hand.
He wanted to hold my hand down the street, and I was like, "Oh, this is very forward," but the hand hold felt right, and it felt right to hold his hand. And then I'm like, wait, but you've just broken up with your girlfriend, so people might see us. And lo and behold, his best friend drives right by us and says, oh, hi, Jeff. Who's this?
Who's this? I said, Cheryl and I have broken up, and this is Rita.
A month ago. Because it's a small town.
Victoria is a small town. You can't get away with anything, right? And so go ahead.
I said, and then I also, as we were walking down the street, I also kissed her.
Shocking. I don't kiss on the first date usually.
No. Okay. So, and he kissed you. Now this is before you even got to the dinner place.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But he found me very tight-lipped. He thought he was a little bit worried, I think, then. Maybe I was a tight-lipped British girl.
Yeah. Well, you were, actually.
And then you went for dinner and
no, actually we did, but first we went, I'm in the construction business, she's in the construction business. I had a project I was working on. It's actually quite a large project, a couple blocks away, and so it was after hours and whatnot. I said, well, would you like to come and see the latest project that I'm working on? She said, sure.
But he throws me into this group of construction workers that he knows. I am in the construction business, so that's okay. But it was like suddenly I'm under the spotlight with this team of guys that he's been working with.
But I didn't know they were going to be there. I thought they'd all had gone home, but the push was on to finish the project. So we went in, had a look
It was
around.
an amazing project, and so yeah, I was oohing and eyeing, and it was a lot of fun to walk around together. So we have that excitement that we both are into.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we went for dinner.
Then we went.
Then you went for dinner.
Yeah.
And whereabouts did you kiss her, before the construction project or after?
Half a block from the Thai massage place, I had my lips on her lips. Half a block.
We've known each
I
other
couldn't
10
hold
minutes.
back. I was like, honestly, I felt like I was walking on air. It was the most amazing feeling.
Wow. Okay. So, and then you have your first date.
Yeah.
And you go home, and then, so where'd you go from there?
Well, so we'd originally had our first date booked for that Friday, but we couldn't wait till the Friday, so we met on the Tuesday after his Thai massage. So the Friday was still booked at the Barge, which is a place where you can dance out on the water here in Victoria, and
There's a live band.
quite a bit of fun. He had a gathering of his whole family.
No.
Well, okay, maybe just two of your siblings and friends. Like, so Jeff's a very social animal with a lot of siblings, and so anywhere we go, we know so many people because of him. Anyway, so I arrive.
Oh my God, does she arrive though?
So I arrive in a taxi because I know I'm going to be drinking, and he was waiting for the taxi.
I'll never forget that moment either.
You know what? To be adored is something. It's wonderful. I mean, I really am a princesa. He takes he does treat me like a princess. It's really
So-
lovely.
Jeff knew right away. He's blown away by you. When did you know that Jeff was the person for you?
I fought it hard.
Yeah.
I had some issues I had to figure out. I had a very loose attachment style. I'd been single, raising my 3 children by myself for many years, traveling from Quebec to Mexico, and then finally up to BC. And I thought a man would get in my way. I thought a relationship would make me half the person I am. And I had some issues I had to deal with. As I said, a very loose attachment style, and I didn't even really know what that meant. So Jeff, I love that our relationship exposes so many parts of us, our matters that we needed to heal. And I didn't even know this about myself. I didn't even know that I was this way. And he exposed that part. But unfortunately, it made me he called me the little Miss Sabotrice, which I was. I sabotaged the relationship. I blew it apart. I was like, no, it's not good. I picked apart. I found little faults that I was like, oh my God, no, it's not working. That's it. Blew it apart. I blew it apart on New Year's Day, 4 months after we got together. Then we were apart for 3 months. And during that time is when I realized what he meant to me.
Right. Because you really missed him.
I really missed him. Yeah.
Yeah.
My heart was trying to tell me that, and my brain was going, no, it's not right. No.
And so now, who got back together? You called him up and said, I made a mistake.
No.
Actually, one thing that happened during that. So between the beginning and the end of the beginning, I guess that's what you'd call it, between September and December, we had actually an amazing time.
We did.
We had great experiences and really, I thought, bonded really well. But whatever. So the breakup came, and
Confused the hell out of him.
I was very confused. I was more than confused. I was devastated, but whatever. That's, I mean, not whatever. It wasn't whatever, actually. It's significant when you kind of get deconstructed like that. But it was at the same time a powerful experience. But one night, a couple of months in, strangest experience. Like, I'm not a super ethereal, spiritual, woo-woo kind of guy at all. I'm pretty grounded. I'm not prone to hallucinations and whatnot.
Right.
But so one night I'm laying in bed reading. I'm about to sort of go to sleep, and I had this bizarre out of body experience where I felt this presence come to me and swirl around me. And I knew
Right.
exactly what it was. I knew exactly who it was. It was her. It was her, in my mind, it was her heart telling me, like, don't give up on me. Like, I miss you. Something along those lines. Like, I want to be with you. And I can remember I wasn't yelling, but I said it very clearly out loud. Like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, she doesn't want to be with me. So I was talking to her heart here.
Right.
Which was it's a very abstract.
You're giving me goosebumps.
Yeah. But I was like, what are you doing here? She doesn't want to be with me. Like, what is wrong? So she's across town, you know.
I'm sitting here and I'm actually going, okay, what is my heart speaking to me? Or is my head speaking to me? Like, I don't know how to differentiate my head from my heart. And so I'm totally confused over on this end of town and trying to figure out which part is talking to me. Ultimately, my heart did win out, and yeah.
It was a crazy experience. I've never experienced anything like that. Like, it was really powerful. So it gave me pause because I was super confused, but in some strange way, it gave me an element of hope.
Yeah.
I did my best to bury her memory in just, okay, go date a bunch of other people and forget about this person. And it wasn't working. Like, it was like, because nobody could hold a candle to Rita. Like, I mean, in any way, in their inner beauty, their outer beauty, their the way they breathed, the way they walked, the way anything, I compared anybody I dated in those in-between months to her. And it was like, oh my God, this is going to be a really long, hard life, because I know I'm never going to be able to replace this. I assumed it was all over.
Yeah.
As you do. I mean, I'm a black and white guy. So I figured, well, okay, if she's kind of done with me, what she said, then it's done. So I got to soldier on. And it was just really depressing. But that moment sort of gave me, like, there's a little bit of a flicker of hope. I thought, oh, well, that's something.
Then I made him cookies.
Oh, you made him cookies. Okay. Because now you're thinking it's month 3, you've been apart, you realize you really miss him. So you just kind of like get him back.
I wanted to apologize to him because I blamed him for everything. I put all of the blame on him for the ending of our our relationship. Slip of the tongue there. I'd found all these faults in him. There were certain things, his anger, there were a few issues, and jealousy. And so I put all of the blame on that. And as I contemplated it and realized my own, like, my fear of commitment and all of that, which cropped up with my relationship with my mother, being a narcissist and not being able to attach myself to a loving relationship. I read a lot and did a lot of inner searching and realized that it was probably not all his fault, that I had some blame. And so I gave him cookies and I wrote a note and I said, look, I wanted to let you know that I apologize for my part in this, and you're not all to blame. And so then we just decided to go for walks together. And so we'd go for walks and we got to know each other again as friends. And And it didn't take very long.
It was never his friends for me. I told you I couldn't be your friend. Like I was happy to go for a walk with you, but I was never going to be your friend.
So by the end of the walk, we're holding hands. It's like, okay, this is very confusing.
Yes.
But there's no way. I mean, I was never going to wish her well in another romantic relationship. I just couldn't see that happening. But and actually, in those intervening months, some of the things that she had mentioned to me as being problematic, actually, I guess the force of the blow, some layers that I had built up over my lifetime from various traumas and experiences that cause one to layer on, whether
and
you want, you call it
reactive.
Yeah, and you can call it, protection, self-preservation, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly, protection. We build walls.
Yeah, exactly. So there were things that I kept in, there were things that I kept out, and but when you have a hypersonic missile come in and hit all of it, it really it exposes it all. Yeah. And it was actually probably, realistically, honestly, it was probably the best thing for us, and also I guess probably for you, because it exposed a lot of stuff and made one deal with that.
Yeah. So then you went on the walks.
Yes.
And how long ago was that?
It's a year and a half ago now. It was just at the beginning of COVID.
Okay, at the beginning of COVID. Okay, so then so you dated during COVID.
Yeah, we've been together since the beginning of COVID. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And you just went on your first trip together.
Wasn't our first trip, because in those first 3 months, we sped everything up. We went to Nova Scotia, we went to Washington, D.C., we went to
Whistler.
Like we just threw ourselves right in. And in the last year, we've been to Whistler, Vancouver, and then this was a big trip, 3.5 weeks in Europe, seeing my mom in England.
And my best friends as well. So it was a trial for sure for both of us.
Okay. And so if we go back to the question that I asked you, Rita, okay, so when did you know that Jeff was the one? It was 3 months after you'd broken up. You thought, wait a minute, I think this is the guy, or?
Yeah. I was still testing things out. I hadn't quite figured out. I remember one evening I was cooking dinner and Jeff was sitting in the living room, and there was a little bit of tension between us, because I still need my space. Like I still need to have 3 nights where I do what I need to do. I spent a lot of time alone, and I'm used to having space. And so I had this book called The Enneagram, which actually describes different characters. And so he was flipping through it, and I said, oh yeah, I pulled this book out because I really need to know how to talk to you about what I'm feeling. And I feel like I'm hurting you when I say certain words about needing space. And because he took my needing space as not wanting him around, but that wasn't the case at all. Yeah. He read my character type in the Enneagram. He kind of got it. It was like, oh, so this is who you are. And being able to be myself is the most healing thing. I've always pretended to be somebody else in a relationship. And this is the first time where I can be completely myself. But it took a lot of irk moments and a lot of discomfort, which we were at first, you don't know each other, so you're very cautiously going there. But now we're actually able to be very raw and expose ourselves. honestly. And so now I would say probably, I mean, he's felt me. It's probably really the last 6 months where I can say I truly love him. I wasn't even able to say the words "I love you" for the first year of our relationship. I have a very hard time falling in love, and so, or even just
Allowing yourself to fall in love.
yeah, allowing myself, exactly. But because of his patience and just his steadfastness, I call him my oak. He's my oak tree, and I'm the river. We actually even have a painting done of the oak tree and the river. And just him, and I told him this early on, you've got to be the oak because I'm like all over the place. And his steadfastness is really what's made my heart able to open up and feel secure.
Yeah. Oh, nice, nice, nice to be someone's oak. I like that. I like that analogy. What's your wisdom for other couples? I think you kind of, shown what you've gone through. So what would you say to other couples?
Couples or
Well,
individuals?
people who are looking for a relationship, like what makes you work is actually what makes you two work.
Can I start?
Yeah, do it.
Sorry, I don't mean to hog all
No, do it.
the
Go.
space here, but I would say knowing that relationships are always going to expose not necessarily all the good in each other, and to allow the grace of time to let that grow into something else, like learn from it, and know that life isn't always comfortable. You're going to have those uncomfortable moments, but the beauty of a love relationship is that you can get through those moments and grow stronger through those moments. So don't throw in the towel the first time it goes awry
and you feel uncomfortable.
And you feel uncomfortable, because maybe there are lessons to be learned there, and explore that a little bit more.
Okay, great. Do you have advice, Jeff? Do you have anything that you would?
Yeah, I do. I think actually it's funny, things pop into my head. So when you start saying that, there's a line that Polonius in Hamlet said to his son before sending him off to school, and it was like that. It's like, know thyself and to thyself be true.
Right.
I think it's very important to know who you are and be comfortable with that person, because if you want a relationship to succeed, you have to be that person. You can't pretend, you can't hide out, you can't have illusions out there, because you'll never be happy and that other person will never be happy. And I think truly happy.
Mm-hmm.
You can fake it. You can absolutely fake. And I've done it, and I've done it pretty well and for long periods of time. You can make relationships last, but it doesn't necessarily mean that relationship is working. I mean, working the way a relationship really should work. Like life is ultimately, I think, I agree with Viktor Frankl, and I agree with poets or Buddhists or anyone who says really life is about love from yourself in its most genuine form is the most satisfying thing you can do in this life. And I think we're all here to find that experience. Like this life, this experience is not meant to be easy. Otherwise, everybody be doing it. It's meant to have lessons learned and have trials and tribulations and bumps and bruises and triumphs and tragedies. But ultimately, you want to find, and it may be for a second, it may be for a minute, it may be for months, years, a lifetime, that moment where you get it, where
Yeah.
you get that love experience, where you can actually say your heart is free and it's open and soaring, and you feel whatever's that nirvana moment or whatever, something along those lines. But to get there, you have to be honest, and you have to be willing to accept that you're not perfect. You're imperfect, and you're in an imperfect world, and there will be obstacles that are thrown your way throughout your life that change you and damage you and hurt you and realign you in sometimes ways that aren't really good for you going forward. So somehow you have to grapple with all that and realize that that's all okay, that all those experiences and all that shit that you've been through is okay if you learn from it, and if you still go back out there and say, I know who I am, and I'm willing to love myself and that other.
I love and accept myself for who I am.
Yeah.
Let's start every relationship like that. It would be so much easier.
But you don't know.
You don't know.
I mean,
I know. No. So but I mean, so you're right. I mean, you go through these things and hopefully you grow from them.
Yeah.
And eventually you find your true love.
And your true self.
And your true self. Yeah.
Through the other person.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, isn't it? That somebody can actually bring out all of you.
Totally.
Yeah.
The bad with the good, you know, all of it, but still love them through.
Yeah. So it's almost like a spiritual connection, not so much even.
I would say.
No question.
I would say.
Yeah. Yes.
For me, certainly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wake up every morning where we wake up together. Actually, I wake up happy every morning anyways. But where we're together, I wake up and I just thank my lucky stars, and I just feel this energy around us, and I just know, you know what? This is what actually life is about. This is actually what life's about. It's not about anything else. It's not about achievement. It's not about, well, achievement in the physical sense or the career sense or whatever. Achieving love is obviously, it certainly is different. But and it's not about, you know, being your best self or teaching others, unless it's teaching others by your example, I think, of how you can be a really good, loving person. And when people see it, and they see us all the time, they like it actually, I don't know, like people smile and then makes their day better, you know?
Yeah. Because they can see and they go, I think you provide other people with hope. They see you too, and they go, oh, well, then there's hope for me to find love too.
I hope that we can give that message.
Yeah. That would be a nice message to give to somebody, wouldn't it? Yeah. Like, look at this. Yeah. I know. Well, that's such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for agreeing to share it with me.